And away we go here at the cloudy Nürburgring GP. Everyone being cautious, they know it's a long race. Still 21 laps to go. So we've just started the race and already we're seeing so much action on track. Hello and welcome to MotorMotion E-Series. We are back with the Player One Sim Gear GT3 Championship. It's a continuation of Season 2 and it is time for Round 7 where we head to one of the most legendary circuits in all of motorsport. It is, of course, not the Nordschleife, not the Südenschleife, not the Bettenschleife. It is, in fact, the Nordschleife. The Nürburgring Nordschleife 24-hour layout comes to the GT3 Championship, and we get to see 2 lobbies worth of GT3 cars going around this legendary circuit. 170 corners, 25.8 kilometers at 600 meters above sea level in the valleys, 300 meters of elevation change. This is a place of racing, a place of legend, a place where memories are created and history is made. And today we get to go there across 2 races of 50 minutes each. I am so looking forward to this because this is absolutely, without a doubt, my favorite track of all time. And I hope that you all have a fantastic time watching live today on the YouTube channel for MotorMotion E-Series. Let's get into things and get started. And in the broadcasting booth and commentary booth will be myself alone. You can ignore those 2 below. No, unfortunately, no Nick Pautasso today. No Andrew Scott today. And of course, we are running a little bit late on our broadcast as well. We are live, though, on the YouTube channel. Welcome into everyone who is watching. Get involved in chat and keep me company because I am here by myself to do the broadcasting today. Our sponsors, as always, Player One Sim Gear. Go and check them out. www.p1simgear.com.au. They stock the widest range of sim gear under one virtual roof in the Australian market. Go and check them out. They've been proudly sponsoring us since 2023, and now they sponsor us here in 2024. Big thanks to Player One Sim Gear. And of course, go and check us out as well, www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com for all of your information, your news, your registrations, your articles, and updates on the standings and where things are at in the GT3 Championship. Let's talk about today's race. It is round 7 of 10. That means 2 more rounds after this one. 50-minute length here at the Nordschleife, 24-hour layout. The time of day is afternoon, and I do hear it is rather cloudy out on track, so this will create some conundrum with the tires and a few other things, including visibility around this very, very long circuit. All racing tires permitted today. Mediums are mandatory for the feature race. And tuning, of course, prohibited as always. Drivers will not be allowed to do anything except for adjust that brake bias. Going to be quite an important thing to be looking at and maybe adjusting all the way throughout the lap today. Nürburgring Nordschleife, what do I even need to say? Absolutely unbelievable place. It is an FIA Grade 1 GP layout. Of course, it's not quite a Formula 1 venue. Has been, of course, in the past for the German Grand Prix after World War II with the likes of Alberto Ascari, Juan Manuel Fangio, Sterling Moss, Jim Clark, John Surtees, Jackie Stewart and Jackie Ickx, all gracing the tarmac that was laid down after World War II. And racing resuming, of course, in 1947. And it was an absolutely brilliant bit of time there early on. 170 corners at this place, 25.3 kilometers. That's 15.7 miles. It's a lot. For a commentator to remember all the names, it's even more for the drivers as they head around the circuit. It's going to be a good one. This is an amazing circuit, and in 50 minutes, we may only see 6 or 7 laps at this place. Weather today is going to be pretty cloudy, as I said before. C04 time of day is afternoon, 8 degrees Celsius out there, so it is cool and calm. But it is very cloudy, and that is going to make things quite interesting. Welcome into chat, by the way, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Keep me company. I'm solo in the commentary booth today, just myself. Let's talk Group A, because we're going to be going to them first for the coverage. Elite and Pro categories, of course. And it's Cooke who has done the top lap there for Diffusion Race Engineering in the Elite category. And he is right next to on the grid to Luke Stone for Lightning Motorsport. 2 pro drivers, in fact, getting up into the top 3. Excellent qualifying by Luke Stone and Mick Hill for Hassel 1 Motorsport. Hassel 1 Motorsport, by the way, are potentially a couple of races away from mathematically being able to win the championship from a team's perspective. So they are getting very close. Couple of good results here today in Group A and Group B will indeed set them up for an early win to the team's championship. Nick Pfaff lines up in the 4th position, 2nd row of the grid. He will fulfill, and then Esther Racing, of course. So Elite category drivers having a little bit of a problem today. Not quite as quick as some of their pro counterparts. That could come down to the type of car. We've got a Mercedes, an Audi, and of course a BMW in the top 3. Matt Donetti in P5 for CP Motorsport, another Elite driver not having the best of qualifying. It's hard to get a qualifying lap hooked up at this place. Then it is Nathan Wakefield for Black Rose Racing in P6, followed by Glenn Mead for Gridline Racing in the Pro category, 3rd in Pro overall. Dean van der Zandt, one of his best qualifyings yet for CP Motorsports in the Pro category, P8 for him, followed by P9. Campbell Knowles for Hassel 1 Motorsport, the lowest of the Elite category drivers qualifying. Drew Griffin lines up in P10 for Astor Racing. Then it's Matt McCullum, Jeremy Crow, and Lewis Atkinson. A surprise there at the bottom of the grid. So keep an eye on exactly what's going on there. I just need to double check something as well, because I've just noticed something. Yeah, that's a little mistake there. Lewis Atkinson is not a pro driver. He's an Elite level driver. So Lewis Atkinson not getting the best of laps at all. Finds himself P13 in this race with 3 spots not filled with DNFs today. Right, well, this is going to be very interesting, this race. I'm so looking forward to seeing exactly how this is going to pan out at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Such a complicated circuit to get around. You've got the GP course to navigate through, and then you head out onto the Nordschleife ring, the Northern Loop, as it's known as, once you convert the name from German. I will be trying my best to keep up with the corner names. I know most of them. Luckily, I was even racing here over the weekend, so I should be fairly familiar. Let's go out on track. Let's get this started, because it is time for Group A's coverage. The medium tyre does seem to be the favourable choice for most on grid. Gopi Mahinderjit will lead us across the line as the lights do go out. Green light on track, and away we go. 4.2 metre crosswind to the southeast. Not going to be particularly handy in most of the course. Will be a little bit handy here down into turn 1. A wide entry from Gopi Mahinderjit. Not the best way you want to start, because it's brought Luke Stone immediately into the question here. Mick Hill has had a decent start. Holds off Nick Pfaff through turn 1. Not too much else happening around the grid. Everyone's single file and keeping it nice and clean as we head through the Nürburgring GP course. You've got to err on the side of caution in this kind of a race. You really do, because suddenly you can find yourself in the wrong position with the wrong people around you and with the wrong kind of tires and all sorts. Small mistakes lead to big, big issues at a track like this. There is a big battle going on for the lead, these two going for it. Gopi Mahidajit does not seem to have got those tires up into a decent window early on in the Nürburgring GP course. It's looking a little all over the place, whereas that Audi just seems to be completely hooked to the road right now. That means Gopi Mahidajit is going to be under a lot of pressure as we head now down into one of my favorite corners. It is through Ravenel and Bilstein, just heading up towards Advenbogen, the long back straight towards the Hatchenbach corner. That signifies that we have entered the Nürburgring Nordschleife section. Looking back through the grid, Nick Pfaff, Matt Donetti still in P5, P6 is still Nathan Wakefield, and it is Glenn Mead, P7. Airborne Campbell Knowles up to P8 already, so a little bit of action further down the grid. Dean van der Zandt has lost a position to Campbell Knowles early on in this race. Matt McCullum is in that beautiful orange Motorsport, CP Motorsports car. Lewis Atkinson already made up a couple of places. He's put himself in the wrong place in terms of qualifying. He's got plenty of pace in that Audi. Should be challenging for the lead of this race. Does manage to get a nice move on Matt McCullum as we head through Hatzenbach and now down into Hochzeichen and towards Quibelbacher we go. This is the first part of the Nordschleife. This is my one of my favorite parts of this track. Almost all of it, all 154 corners of the Northern Loop are absolutely golden. Jeremy Crowes in P12, followed by Drew Griffin, who's had a shocker of a start, did qualify much further up the grid, just hasn't had a good start to this race. Mick Hill under a bit of pressure in the background from Nick Pfaff. Up and through we go, the Flugplatz. What a beautiful corner through, super high speed through this part of the tracks. And these GT3 cars, most of them do not need to lift whatsoever. That means you are absolutely flat out and doing nearly 240 kilometers an hour through that section. Wonderful turn, there we go. Gopi Mahidajit suddenly looks a lot more hooked up. You can see the pace differential between him and Luke Stone has pulled out a great bit of gap there. Mick Hill still holding on with Nick Pfaff, doing pretty well in that Porsche at the moment on the racing medium tyre. I haven't seen many other choices out on the grid either. Matt Donetti in the yellow CP Motorsports Lamborghini on the racing medium tyres as well. Misses an apex here and there, but that's not too bad as we head through the foxhole. And now up towards one of the YouTube corners. It's not the YouTube corner, it's one of the YouTube corners. Beautiful part of the track as well. Through Callanhad we go. Into the S's section as you come after this. Careful on the curbs there. They do tend to launch the car just that little bit. Does mean that you end up losing a little bit of grip. You lose the ability to power away from the corner. And when you're coming up to this section here, you really do need to hold on to it as much as possible. Through Exmouls we go. Great part of the lap here. Beautiful start. This is Metzgerfield, I believe. I'm already getting lost on my track map. Nathan Wakefield making a little bit of progress in the background there. And then Glenn Mead under pressure from Campbell Knowles, who's looking quick now. Campbell Knowles in that BMW. Expect to see him move up the grid a fair bit. I think this race, even though he is at the minute in a battle with Glenn Mead in an equal machine. Two BMWs out on track and both of them looking pretty good. Bit wide there from Dean van der Zandt, who's now got his teammate in behind him. There might be some team orders here by Hooncorp Esports just to get Lewis on through. He's been in the wrong spot in terms of qualifying. Qualified last. And Dean van der Zandt will probably end up being told, get out of his way, let him go through. You're on a different strategy. You're fighting different people out on track. Oh, big moment there for Lewis Atkinson. He's binned it as well. He has absolutely binned the car. He's hit the wall, front damage. And he's also got damage to that left tyre, so just coming up Exmouls and through the 10-kilometer mark, finds himself all sorts of sideways and in the barrier. So Lewis Atkinson has made his way up to P10 in this race, has lost all of those positions, and now his damage will have suffered a lot in terms of the top speed of this car. That is not going to help when they get to the Dotting to Hoe, the back straight, the final straight that lasts for over 2 kilometers. So Lewis Atkinson not in a good position now for Hooncorp Esports, who are really trying to fight their way back into the series as much as possible. Need a couple of good results from their drivers here in the Elite and Pro category. It is very competitive, of course, between all of these drivers here, but we've seen Lewis Atkinson on the cusp of getting his first win. A proper good win behind his under his belt. Would feel so good for Hooncorp Esports and for Lewis Atkinson in this season. Yet to find it, though, unfortunately for them. Some good results overall for Cooke Esports throughout the season so far. The last 6 races have been not too bad, but it's been a bit here and there, which has not helped their title chances. It's helped to allow Hassel 1 Motorsport to kind of get away at the top of the team's title. Gridline Racing, of course, in that battle as well. The main battle, I think, in the team's championship at the moment is Hassel 1 Motorsport. Is Cooke Esports and Gridline Racing. Those two sort of have to work together almost to find a way to get up to where Hassel 1 Motorsports are. But I think Hassel 1 Motorsport, really, at the end of the day, they've done enough. Mark Hasseldine said at the beginning of the season he really wants a win. He's going to put the right drivers in the right seats. He's done that so far. He's been one of the teams that's had few, if any, driver issues with needing replacements or substitutes throughout the season. That goes a long way to helping you secure consistent points throughout the season. Gridline Racing, of course, have had their share of issues. A number of their drivers just not able to make the races on occasion. BMW, the machinery underneath them is absolutely glorious bit of machinery. Been looked after very nicely by the Gridline Racing chaps. They'll be happy for a bit of a return to form, though. Even P2 in the team's championship is very respectable. Look at the way we head through this section of track into Stefan Beloff, and now up towards Schwalben. I always get this one wrong. Schwalben-Schwans. There we go, just going into that section now, past the 18-kilometer mark and in towards the Klein Carousel, the second of 2 carousels, of course, in this race. The first one, of course, being the Caracciola Carousel. That's the one that everyone remembers. That's the one that everyone knows. Second one, slightly lesser known. Now heading now to the lovely Dohinda Straight. This is where you can take a break. And I have to admit, there'll be a lot of drivers hoping for a break, especially at a circuit like this. Fantastic long bit of track here. Can shake out the wrist, get yourself refocused on what you need to do on that next lap, because before you know it, you are back into the Nürburgring GP course, and then before you know it, that's all done, and you're back onto the Nordschleife. And that's going to be about an 8-minute 15 lap or thereabouts. Excuse me. Copenhagen looking strong out front right now. So if you take the 50 minutes divided by 8.25, then you might find yourself figuring out how many laps there are going to be on this race. That's going to be a critical aspect to calculating the strategy today, as well as these medium tyres, which will not go the full distance of this race. People will have to think a little bit about whether or not the pit stop is going to be an earlier one in the middle, or one towards the end of the race. And welcome into chat. Yes, is Cookie on his own? Yes, Cookie is on his own. Fortunately, the broadcast team, not unlike some of the racing teams, have had a little bit of a DNS schedule, unfortunately, this time round. But it is what it is. I'll do my best to bring in all the coverage I possibly can. We don't have Andrew Scott, we don't have Nick Bautasso today, so I'm going to do my best to bring you all the racing action and give you some information on the strategy calls as they do happen. That wind direction has changed substantially now down to the southerly direction, so cutting right across the Nordschleife, and that's going to make a few corners quite nice. Arenberg could be quite pleasant. I'll try not to call you Mark today. I will try avoid that, Matt. I'll do my best. I think it's the old Mark Hasseldine, Matt Dernetti. Probably not the worst comparison you could possibly have out there. At least we're not saying, oh, hi, Mark. Nonetheless, Captain Snooze still holding on to P6. Glenn Mead and P7 Airborne still on a bit of a charge right now. It might be Nordschleife born, given the way that this car is operating today. Doing a great job for Gridline. This is looking very, very solid. Dean van der Zandt still running there in P9, Matt McCullum P10, Drew Griffin in P11, then Jeremy Crow rounds out our top 12, and then Lewis Atkinson, who's still holding damage. Doesn't look like he's going to opt for an early pit stop to get rid of that. Is going to be potentially quite a costly thing to hold on to all the way around. He's probably 5 seconds or so off the back of Jeremy Crow right now. And in the meantime, our leader has re-entered the Nordschleife, so you can just see the amount of distance that he had to make up and still has to make up in this race. Gavin Mahidja looking strong. We know how much of a tire killer the Mercedes can be, so that's going to be something that we all keep a very, very close eye on today for Gavin Mahidja. But given the way he's driving right now with 2 pro drivers behind him and no elite drivers up there in the top 3 of qualifying to challenge him today, I think he's really set for a great result. Should be able to bring it home, just needs to survive for the next 40 minutes of this race. Luke Stone, in the meantime, leading pro category. Great qualifying from him and Mick Hill. Absolutely brilliant stuff to put themselves up into P2 and P3. Right now, Luke Stone's got a little bit of an easier task. He's got no one in front of him, really no one behind him either. Mick Hill's, on the other hand, has Nick Pfaff to worry about right on his rear. Tyre life for both looking quite good for the pro drivers. We know both of them have been on for a really good result or two. Question is, can they hold out against Nick Pfaff and Matt Dernetti, who are making some serious progress right behind them? This Astor Racing Porsche is looking quite strong today. Strong enough to pull a gap back to Matt Dernetti, who's fallen out of the slipstream range. Does mean he doesn't have to run in the dirty air of the Porsche and the BMW ahead. Does mean when you get to that Doding-to-Hoe long straight, you do not have that slipstream, which is very, very costly, whereas these two get to work it together just that little bit, which can really, really help in a race like this one. Plenty of fuel already gone. Fuel will be the big issue. They're coming up only to the second lap, or on the second lap at the moment, and coming up towards halfway through. And that is going to be nearly half. Well, it's 75% we all start with in this race, so you're looking at maybe 15 or 20% of fuel over 2 laps, so maybe 10% of fuel per lap. Gives you about 7 laps. You may be able to make it to the end if you're a little bit conservative on your fuel usage. That may be what Mick Hill is doing. We know he likes the alternative strategy, so it may be that he's thinking, hey, if I just save a bit of fuel, yeah, I'm not going to get P1 today, but I can hold on to P3 and avoid an extra pit stop. It would be absolutely massive for him. The question is, will he be able to hold on to those racing medium tires, and will there be any conflict as Nick Pfaff probably inevitably at this point tries to make his way past the BMW ahead of him? So depending on how quick this happens, I mean, Mick Hill doesn't look particularly comfortable into that section of track either. Never good when you see the car's rear end stepping out, which it does for Nick Pfaff. But I'm really happy to report that we still have only had 1 accident in this race so far, which is very unusual for a place like the Nordschleife, especially in these conditions, especially when the drivers are only on the medium tires. Cloudy, it's cold. There's a little bit of a wind cutting across the Nordschleife too. Makes it a very, very awkward set of circumstances. The drivers were told by the race admin, hey, just take it easy, relax, be respectful. This is a difficult circuit. There's not a lot of place to overtake. Cause of concern, of course, all those out on track. Just keeping an eye here on Luke Stone, because I did see him slow down an awful amount. He's actually lost a bit of time to Mick Hill just behind him, so I wonder if he's had a light hiccup here or there. Either that or Mick Hill and Nick Pfaff are starting to make hay while the sun's out and making a bit of progress on the Lightning Motorsport Pro driver. Racing mediums on the Audi not looking particularly healthy. Neither are they looking healthy on the Mercedes out front. Give him a Hinderjit. Long way in front right now. He can't see a competitor in his rear wing, which he'll be absolutely stoked about. Really, at the moment, he just needs to get this thing home. Bag himself some points, get Diffusion Race Engineering some points, sail off into the sunset. That's how you need to do it today. I'm sure he's got that on mind. In the meantime, damage still, of course, with Lewis Atkinson. Will he come into the pits next time out? We shall see. The battle continues for P3 and P4 in this race. Let's just have a little look through our tyres and fuel situation right now. Matt Dernetti is looking a little bit better on his tyres and his fuel than Nick Pfaff ahead, who's been pushing in that dirty air. Then it is Nathan Wakefield. Tyres at the front getting chewed up, really. It's a very typical trait of the Mercedes, and less than half fuel too, so he's maybe burning a little bit more fuel than he should be out there. Campbell Knowles, on the other hand, plenty of fuel on board, still burning those front tyres a bit. Probably just comes down to a little bit of driving style there for Campbell Knowles, but he's looking pretty secure, keeping Glenn Mead behind him, who's running lower on the fuel count for him. Tyres about equal with where Campbell Knowles is at. Rear tyres on the Lamborghini, well, I'd make some jokes, but I can't think of anything funny that isn't slightly depressing for the Lamborghini drivers. Rear tyres getting burnt up to all heck, and low on fuel too. So Matt McCullum doing really, really well to hold on to P9 right now, and has actually built quite the gap back to Dean van der Zandt. Plenty of tyres on that. Even the rear is not looking too bad, and heaps of fuel. So Dean van der Zandt has been fuel saving like an absolute monster. And now that means that he is in a good position to save a few seconds in that pit stop. And hopefully, even though he's just gone through the drop and now through the high-speed section just before the carousel. So here we go through Klostertal, Kesselchen. after we exited through the Bergwerk. Beautiful section of track, by the way. Super flowing, super high speed. Now into the Klein Carousel. So I got that wrong. That was Flansgarden, Stefan Bellos, and then Schwalben Schwans, which is the section we've just gone through. And, of course, the Klein Carousel onto the back straight. But Dean van der Zandt, like I said before, he is saving a lot of fuel out there. Unlike Jeremy Crow, who's running a little bit lower on those fuel numbers. Drew Griffin saving a bit of fuel. Has had an accident, though. You can see the damage on the opposite tyre from Lewis Atkinson. Right tyre damage, front splitter damage, though. So he has put it in the wall at some point this lap. And that has brought Lewis Atkinson back into the equation. Just that little bit would be great for him to see. Gopin Mahinagic, in the meantime, goes across the line. Tyres are sort of slightly on fire. Fuel is slightly running out. But an 8:09.214 on the cards for him, and that is the fastest lap, of course, of this race so far. First lap for him was an 8:09.7, so really consistent pace out there as well. But 2 laps in to be that worn on his tyres as it is, I think that's going to be scary territory for the Diffusion Race Engineering driver. Goes purple sector 1, so he is pushing and trying to build up that gap. First sector purple taken away by Luke Stone. It's an 8:12.3, so there's a 3-second differential in pace between P1 and P2 right now in terms of the race pace. That's a pretty hard pill to swallow for Luke Stone, I'm sure. At the same time, he is a pro driver, and he is up there in the positions that the elite drivers really want to be seeing themselves at. Nick Pfaff has clearly had a problem too, because he's fallen behind Matt Donetti. So I think there must have been an off somewhere on the last lap. Unfortunately, we're not able to catch it. So much going on such a long track. So Nick Pfaff's got a bit of work to fight back. Was holding on to P4. That now resides with Matt Donetti. Nick Pfaff will have to just bring it back into play, really. He was right on the back of Mick Hill, so there might have been something happen during an overtake attempt today. Nonetheless, Nick Pfaff, no damage on either car as a result, and Mick Hill will continue to hold on to P2 position. Still running some really, really good fuel numbers out there right now is Mick Hill. And in fact, we're going to go on board for a lap of the Nordschleife with Mick Hill. So we'll try and walk you through some of the corners. So as we head in, of course, towards the section that is known as Hatzenbach. First couple of corners really, really nice. Love this first part of the corner. Going to open it up quite a bit. A lot of corners at the Nordschleife that are like that. You just got to be brave. Little lift there as we head down the hill. Drop a couple of gears. It's going to be fourth. He holds fourth nicely. Is able to rotate it beautifully through the second part of the corner. No curb used to that section. Drop it into the off-camber section there, just as it sort of runs into the apex nicely. You can hook the car in there. You can really find yourself with a lot of grip through that section. Don't need to be on the brakes through that part either, and that's really, really handy. If you can get that right, you can flow through the S section and then out now onto those last couple of corners before the straight. We're on now. Up the hill we go. Flugplatz, super fast right-hander. It's 225 kilometers an hour through there, and then full throttle as we head down the hill through Schweden-Cruz, up the hill now towards Arenberg. Probably one of the trickiest corners to get absolutely spot on. And it feels like the car just wants to run out to the right-hand side, and it does so. Not this time, though. And that is Mick Hill showing us a great bit of car control. Last lap, of course, an 8:14. And as you exit Arenberg, it's now time to go into the foxhole. Aptly named because there are foxes here and it's a bit of a hole. Up we go, drop a gear, try and cut that little bit of inside curb there. In many other different games, that curb there is much more rideable, but in the more recent version of the Nordschleife, it was replaced so that the cars don't come up and cut across a potentially dangerous blind corner. Donetti is off big time. We're going to have to change from our lap here, and Donetti has had a problem. Thank you very much for spotting that out on track. A big, big issue for Matt Donetti. He's had a huge off. Front damage, rear damage, and a tire as well. Now Airborne is right on his rear wing and looking very, very, very eager to get past the CP Motorsports driver. What has happened to Matt Donetti? Maybe chat can help me out and take a look at the replays that will be coming across your screens at some point. Maybe the imaginary screen, fortunately. I'm not able to do the replays single-handedly today in the broadcasting booth, so help me out. Do let me know what's happened there. Tires are looking a little bit worse for wear, and the Lamborghini, I feel like probably it's just kicked out the rear and it's gone around, but he's clearly hit one or two walls as a result of that, and lost positions too. Captain Wakefield, now the one attacking Nick Pfaff. Nick Pfaff still a fair way off the back of Mick Hill after his mistake. Things have just spiced up very, very quickly in this race. We're 21 minutes through at the moment. Now Airborne has got a chance to move himself up into P6 and maybe get underway to fight Nathan Wakefield for that P5 spot. I'm being told that Matt Dernetti has outbraked himself and got on the grass and launched himself airborne into the fence. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So yeah, a major, major accident for Matt Dernetti. Car is looking all sorts of worse for wear. That might be a good indicator for him to look at an earlier pit stop, get it in, get it repaired, because you can see the differential on pace. He just has nothing. Airborne with a great run through the high-speed section. It's going to be Glenn Mead coming on through as well. You go too wide through the high-speed section. High-speed section of the track around the outside. Glenn Mead. That is a beautiful, beautiful move. Matt Dernetti, of course, giving space. Knew that that was coming. Gave racing room. And Glenn Mead was able to do it on the outside line. Really, really clean stuff. And great driving by these three, especially in amongst a car that has got so much damage. Great stuff from Campbell Knowles. Got that move done early, now on P6. And looking pretty good in terms of his pace at the moment. That last lap, an 8:16.4. Going to need to be running a little bit quicker if he's going to make up time against Captain Snooze, Nathan Wakefield, Nathan Snooze, whatever he likes to be called. Old Wakey, as I am aware. 8:16.2 his last lap, so the pace still swinging his way, but will need to go even faster if he wants to get ahead of Nick Pfaff. Because Nick Pfaff, I think, once he sees that there's someone in his rear wing, Nick Pfaff often puts his foot down just that little bit harder. Does manage to find a little bit of extra pace in this car. Into YouTube corner we go. Roll it up and round. Hold as much speed to that apex. It is a bit of a late apex, so you can miss that first part. Kind of just target just the point where the hill rolls over to the flat again. That's really where your brake, your acceleration angle is. Now Stefan Beloff and Flansgarten. Bit of a wiggle for Astor Racing's Nick Pfaff as he heads up the hill. Feeling the pressure now, feeling the pressure massively, and big issue for Luke Stone. We haven't caught it on camera, but that is an overtake by Mick Hill. Luke Stone has put it into the barrier as well. So damage on that front splitter and left-hand wheel assembly. That is going to indicate to him that he is in trouble at this stage. I suspect we're going to see a bunch of pit stops at the end of this lap. Our leader is on the Dottinger straight already and running away with things. So he's probably going to be unlikely to get a lot of screen time today. Gopi Mahindajit unchallenged in this elite category right now, and will be putting himself up into a position of many, many points, which is going to be excellent. But Luke Stone, what could have been? He's lost the Pro-Am lead. He's now in P3 overall. Still a lot of points on hand, but he's got Nick Pfaff barreling down behind him and Nathan Wakefield. Should Luke Stone finish ahead of both of them, that's a whole bunch of extra points for Luke Stone and Lightning Motorsport, but he's got that damage now. So Luke Stone is in a bit of trouble, and probably with the repairs that he's going to have to do, that'll probably put him behind these two in terms of the battle. He'll have to get on with it with his own pace after this. Our leader, Gopi Mahindajit, is now in the pit lane and about to be serviced by his engineering team, as is Mick Hill. In fact, I think you'll see every single car in here because no one, I think, has saved enough fuel to get all the way around. Look at those fuel numbers. 9% of fuel for Luke Stone. 16% is the best we've seen so far from Mick and Gopi. 17% from Campbell Knowles. Done a really, really good job there. 19% by Matt Dernetti. Came in with a huge amount of fuel on board. So Matt Dernetti is going to spend very little time refueling, but he's going to spend an awful lot of time repairing the car. Dean van der Zandt, 28 litres of fuel on board. That is super, super impressive fuel saving. We did say he was the best off, and he has saved so much fuel. He'll go to full and save a lot of time in that pit lane. McCallum's in, Pfaff is in, Airborne's in, Gopin Mahinja has made it out of the pits and he's on his way, racing medium tyres for him and a full tank of fuel. Mick Hill, not a full tank of fuel. He is only going for about 85%. So it looks like he's going to still be on a slightly fuel-saving strategy for the last part of this race. We're just past the halfway mark. 25 minutes complete now. Another 25 minutes to go. Nick Pfaff, racing mediums, nearly a full tank of fuel. Nathan Wakefield, yeah, 95% as well. Racing mediums, of course, they are the mandatory tyre. They're also the best tyre, especially at a place like this. I don't think the softs would even make it round one lap, and you wouldn't really get that much pace out of them either. Did I just hear a screeching car go and spin it around? I hope I didn't. Let's keep looking down the field. Luke Stone is out, nearly a full tank of fuel. He needs to absolutely send it. Is he ahead of Nathan Wakefield? No, he's not. But he is ahead of Campbell Knowles. That's critical for Luke Stone. Only got one car to overtake. Then he can chase after Nick Pfaff. And is not too far from getting back to the position he was in. So actually, that really did not go so badly for Luke Stone. I thought he might have even lost the position to Campbell Knowles. Luckily for him, that is not the case. Campbell Knowles in P6, 90% of fuel used. Glenn Mead, he's gone for a high fuel strategy, racing mediums, of course, as well. Lewis Atkinson has not repaired the car and has gone for another lap because he's got, and I would hesitate to use a swear word here, but he has got a ton of fuel on board. Insert swear word, ton of fuel on board. He's going to hold that damage for another lap, and I'm not sure if this is a really sensible thing to do. He's managed to make it all the way through the first half of this race with 50% of his fuel used. He could have jumped into the pits, repaired the car, and absolutely gone for it. Instead, he's now going to have McCullum and Dernetti to hold up, which is going to be quite a bit of work. So both CP Motorsports cars coming for that Hunkel Esports Audi. This is going to be quite interesting between these three drivers. Plenty of fuel on board for Matt Dernetti, of course, with that accident and the damage. He is well back and finds himself even behind his teammate Matt McCullum for, I believe, the first time this season. So an unusual place to be seeing the rear end of the orange CP Motorsports Lamborghini for Matt Dernetti. Takes a lot of curb through there. Car's looking stable, and he's trying to find the speed. Push Matt McCullum forward. Say, get on with it, mate. We've got to get after this Hunkel Esports driver. Got to get past him. Got to let me loose. I need to go after the guys further up the grid. Is there going to be opportunity for Matt McCullum? Or he's had a little look to see how close they are, actually working together to push that Audi forward. Gives them a little bit of extra pace as we head up and down, now through Flugplatz and up towards Arenberg. That's going to be an easy pass there for Matt McCullum. In fact, no contest whatsoever. Even Lewis Atkinson is going to concede it as well to Matt Dernetti. Such is the pace difference when the cars get up to speed with that rear front diffuser damage for Lewis Atkinson. It's just holding him back massively, losing a whole bunch of time in this race. Not a fun place to be for the Audi driver. In the meantime, Matt McCullum finds himself in P8, followed by Matt Dernetti. Is there going to be team orders? Chase Persh might be on the radio saying, hey, CP guys, Matt McCullum, we need to let the yellow elite driver in our team through the next convenient possibility. Or opportunity, I should say. Great shots at the front of the car. Dean van der Zart now actually starting to chase after his teammate. Then Jeremy Crow in P12 has had a race to forget, and probably one that he's not even going to remember anyway, because there's just been nothing happening for him down here. Behind him, OGR Toolshed, Drew Griffin is rounding out the grid for Astra Racing. Really, unfortunately, the lap times are just not there. 8:30. And it is one of those things with the Nordschleife. You can find yourself in a situation, if you've never driven it before, this place is the toughest track on the planet Earth. 170 corners to learn and get familiar with. They all look the same. They all look different. And that is a true dilemma of this place. And only once you really get familiar do you really understand exactly where you are on this grid. For me, I feel like I could almost drive this place with like a semi-transparent blindfold. I absolutely love the Nordschleife. I've driven I drove a 12-hour charity race by myself for Cancer Society and I Am Hope, and it was one of the most fun things I've ever done. I literally went to bed, and when I woke up, based on the revolutions in the car, the revs of the engine, I was able to figure out exactly where I was on track. So I'd clearly been dreaming about the Nordschleife, which was absolutely hilarious. Love this place, though. Comment in chat saying, Lewis doing 4 laps with damage is admirable. Surely going softs for the last 2 laps, surely. Yeah, that might be the option to go softs for right at the end. I mean, there's no reason why he wouldn't. I don't think he's going to gain a lot from it, though. At the end of the day, he's lost so much time in these 4 laps. You're on the medium tire, you're holding the damage. Down the straights alone, it's a few seconds. So unless you're gaining, 3 or 4 seconds, maybe even more per lap on the softs, it's really not going to offset the damage. You probably would have been better pitting early, going a full tank of fuel at maybe the 10 or 15 minute mark after maybe even the second lap or 3 laps at most. Make it through all that, and that could have put him in a situation where he could have repaired that damage early, stopped costing himself time. Because once you start bleeding lap time, yeah, it's really, really hard to come back from that, even on the soft tires, even in an Audi, and yeah, even for Lewis Atkinson. And I'm not even sure if they would last 2 laps, if I'm completely honest with you. Oh, and Danetti confirming. Softs really struggle for 2 laps. Unfortunately, medium's quicker across the 2. There you go. Well, that is it. Definitely not a strong track for Toolshed, but we don't give up at Astra Racing. Exactly right, Drew Griffin. Mate, much appreciate for your comments. Honestly, it's a tricky, tricky track to learn. And at the end of the day, 8-minute 30s, still under the 9-minute lap time. First set by, let me look it up. First sub 9-minute lap was done by Phil Hill in the 1961 German Grand Prix. So he's still faster than Phil Hill from 1961. Take it as a bonus, that's for sure. But at the Nordschleife, it's one of those things, mate, where I just say anyone who finishes a race at Nordschleife is an absolute winner in my book. But yeah, Astra Racing still going hard. Nick Pfaff is the other driver, of course, and he is still hovering in P6, but he's got damage now. When did this happen? So yeah, he's had a problem, and he's also put it into the wall. At last lap was on 8:32. That's when he came into the pits. This lap, he is having an absolute shocker. So Nick Pfaff with front damage on the car. Plenty of fuel, but he's just cooked it ever so slightly. Now on the back of the course, at the Dottinger Straight, we've got Airborne chasing down Luke Stone. Luke Stone is still trying to keep Airborne at arm's length. Keeps looking forward as well because Nathan Wakefield is right there. See down the Dottinger Straight. Nathan Wakefield is not out of the woods. In fact, he's will be shortly returning to the woods, as is the nature of the Nordschleife. Mick Hill, MP2, leading pro category and absolutely dominating this category right now. He's got a decent gap over the cars behind. Can't quite see them, just see them. So there's probably about 700 or 800 meters between him and Nathan Wakefield. It's a good gap to work with. Go from Behinajit. Only 1 lap that he's done that was only 2 laps he's done that were really poor, and that was his in lap and his out lap. So there you go, 2 809s in a row. He's absolutely dominating. The next fastest lap, I believe, is this 8:14.4 by Mick Hill. Just bear in mind, of course, across 170 corners generally does tend to accentuate the difference in skill between the drivers. Get a track like Tsukuba, and it's really hard to tell who is actually faster than everyone else because it's such a short lap. Whereas here, of course, being over an 8-minute lap, 25.3 kilometers circuit, including the GP course. Yeah, the difference in skill definitely gets accentuated. Gopi Behinajit, by the way, he is a bit of an expert at this track. We're going to go on board with him for a little bit. Keep an eye on the timing sheet. If something does happen, let me know, and I'm going to grab myself a glass of water. So I'll be back in a few moments' time. For now, enjoy the sounds and sights with Gopi Behinajit as he enters the Nordschleife. All right, so we've just seen Sector 1 purple there for Gopi Mahindra, 0.6 of a second up on his time already. So he is going for a lap that is actually in the 8-minute 08. Let me know in chat if you think he's capable of doing it. I certainly think he's capable. Whether or not he can pull together the lap all the way through the next 8 sectors or so is the real question. Hasn't lost any time as he headed through Sector 3. This man is absolutely on fire. Fantastic work by Gopi Mahindra. We'll keep an eye on the lap times. He's found even more time. He's now up by 0.8 of a second. Let us know your predictions in chat. Will he go faster by the end of this lap? Heading up towards the trickiest few sections of the circuit. Really not easy to get this right through Metzgerfeld. Now Kallenhard. Late apex corner, get to run nice and wide. Now you head through X-Mul. Tricky series of left, right, left corners. Now miss, hit, miss. Looks like he's hit, missed. And nearly sent himself into the barrier. And then, of course, the tricky braking zone. Really tough to get that one right. He's 1.2 seconds up on his time, ladies and gentlemen. Gopi Mahindra absolutely rocking the socks off that Mercedes. I kind of just want to stay on board with him for a little bit. Maybe the broadcast team will humor me and keep it on this view just for the moment. This is an absolutely stonking lap. It's got nerves of steel. Now into the fastest section of track. Oh, big slide. But manages to hold on to it only just, though. And, of course, being Whipperman. Still up on his time, still going purple. Airborne does not appear to be... Airborne is gone. Airborne's had a major problem. So my apologies, folks. I love watching fast drivers at this circuit. And I believe the broadcasting team do also like that. So they've stayed focused on one car for quite some time. Airborne. Campbell Knowles has had a major problem. He's got engine damage on that car, and you can see it's barely doing above 180 kilometers an hour. That is a real shame for him, and he's going to have to come in for a second pit stop. There's no way you're going to be nursing that kind of damage around the track. And then P10, you're in the last few points are available. I mean, you're going to end up last either way, whether you stay out on track like this. Only 12 minutes to go, so this is the penultimate lap of this track, of this circuit today. Jeremy Crow is behind him, not by a massive amount either. Lewis Atkinson still in the hunt, but having an awful day out. He has finally repaired that damage, and he's on the racing softs. So this is a very, very, very bold strategy for him, because we don't think there's going to be 2 laps worth of grip in the soft tires. Does depend, of course, on how you're driving it. Lewis may be able to find a way just to extend them out just that little bit, but he's only been on the out lap for just over 4 minutes, so about half the way through the lap. He's already burnt through quite a bit of tires. Absolutely, chat's agreeing with me. So for those in the broadcasting booth, or for those who want to complain that I've just been sitting here watching Gopi Mahindra go purple in every single sector, including that one where he's now up by 1.5 seconds. Chad is agreeing with me. It's magic to watch really fast drivers go around this place, because it is so brave. It's so precise, so disciplined. Nerves of steel. So good. We're going to stay on board. I know there's stuff going on around the track. Quick update. He's 2 seconds faster in that split. Gopi Mahindra. From another planet right now. He is feeling at one with that Mercedes-Benz. And it is showing. Quick update from around the grid as he heads through Klein's carousel. Mick Hill, then Nathan Wakefield. Mick Hill leading pro category at the moment. Luke Stone, second in pro category, 4th overall, followed by Glenn Mead. GLR, and I believe one of the only Kiwi drivers other than Lewis Atkinson on the grid. P5 for Glenn Mead. 3.2 seconds is the delta. What is this lap time going to be from Gopi Mahindra? setting the entire tarmac on fire right now. Matt Donetti has recovered to P6. Nick Pfaff having that problem falls down to P7. Then Matt McCullum, who's just been overtaken by Dean van der Zaan, still on for one of his best results of the season. 3.2 seconds is the delta in the positive as he goes purple yet again. In fact, I don't think there's a sector. Gopin Mahindrajit has not been purple through. This could be a 5. I think it's going to be a 6. Let's see. He goes across the line in a few moments' time. Oh, it's a 5. It's an 8-minute 05.875. The fastest lap of this race by nearly 10 seconds. Take a bow, Gopi Mahindrajit. That is incredible. Do not expect to see another lap like that today. Stunning work by the Diffusion Race Engineering driver. He is showing that he has Sabina Schmidt's level mastery of the Nürburgring Nordschleife 24-hour layout in that number 2 Mercedes AMG. Stunning, stunning work. That is absolutely unbelievable. Meanwhile, Mick Hill getting close to 25 litres of fuel left. This is now the last lap of this race. So elite category will be finishing up. Unless Gopi Mahindrajit can do a 7:50, a 7-minute and 50-second lap. I get the feeling it's somehow maybe possible that we get a 7th lap here. Yeah, he's got time for a 7th lap. Well, that's what I'm thinking, yeah. So he's coming up to the end of the Nordschleife. He's got 1 minute 20 through. Can we do the math here? We've got 7 minutes to the end of the race. No, this will be the last lap. He'd have to do a 7-minute 30. He'd have to do a 7-minute and 30-second lap. So this will be the last lap of this race. We won't see another fastest lap by Gopi Mahindrajit at 8:05. Is just too good already. Mick Hill will likely come home in 2nd place for the pro category. 2nd place overall, 1st place in the pro category. And that's going to be a huge result for the team. Absolutely massive result for them. They need the points at this stage. They really, really do. Sorry, wrong team. They don't need the points. They're really, really sorted. It's Hasselblad Motorsport, of course. And I need to petition the teams next time. If you're going to run BMWs, at least have different colors. Both Gridline Racing and Hasselblad running the same colors, confusing me week after week. But no, Hasselblad Motorsport on to bag a lot of points here with Mick Hill. Done a great job for them today. Nathan Wakefield now has Luke Stone, so there is a battle on track between Captain Wakefield, Nathan Wakefield, and Luke Stone. This is going to be for the P3 overall. 2nd place in elite category, almost guaranteed for Nathan Wakefield. 2nd place in pro category, almost guaranteed for Luke Stone. Question is, who's going to finish 3rd overall? Luke Stone, should he finish ahead of Nathan Wakefield, will find himself with extra points, even more than he's already got in this race for finishing so high up against the elite drivers. There's so many further down on the grid behind him. So this is going to be massive, and boy, oh boy, does Luke Stone look so quick through Arenberg. And he'll have the slipstream now. Down the foxhole we go. He'll be feeling that dirty air just that little bit. Nathan Wakefield will be feeling the pressure behind from the Lightning Motorsports Audi R8. Decent tyres for Luke Stone, slightly better tyres for Nathan Wakefield. More fuel on board for Luke Stone. Question is, can he leverage that extra fuel against the better tyres that Nathan Wakefield has right now? That's going to be the real question. Nathan Wakefield needs to hold on as much as he possibly can. This will be a great bit of points for Black Rose Racing if he's able to come home in 2nd in elite category, but also 3rd overall in the race. Oh, the sound of those two cars. My favorite sounding cars, the Mercedes and the Audi, flying past the low-hanging corner. And the camera that we've got plugged in there with the microphones. That is the best noise on this track right now. Luke Stone closer than he's ever been out through the chicane we've just gone. This is going to be a potential overtake opportunity. Does back out for now. Got a long straight ahead of him. Just got to get a good run up this section of track. Coming up through Bergwerk. He's going to try for the inside move. There's high speed. There's a little bit of contact, I believe, between the two. Nothing major, though. And Luke Stone has to pull back into line. Oh, big moment. And Luke Stone's in the barrier. He's absolutely cooked it. And that's a yellow flag at the exit of Bergwerk. Captain Wayfield got loose. That pulled him, got him slowed really, quite a lot. And that slowdown caught Luke Stone unawares. I think Luke Stone might have quickly tapped the back of him, but he had to hit the brakes. And that sent him into an uncontrolled spin into the barrier. Now he's holding damage. Still probably safe from Matt Donetti, considering this is the last lap of the race. But Matt Donetti, he's in a good situation to maybe take advantage of what's just happened ahead of him. Bruce the Shark, Glenn Mead has made that position on Nick Pfaff, who's had yet another accident. In fact, Nick Pfaff at Astra Racing has not given up, but he may end up giving up this place to Matt McCullum, who's on a charge in his Lamborghini for CP Motorsports. There'll be a move down the inside line, though. Smartly backs out of it to head through the fast turning section there in the Klostertal. Now the braking zone before we head towards the Caracal Carousel. Yeah, no movement between those two. Dean van der Zaan in 9th place. Jeremy Crow 10th. Lewis Atkinson 11th. Drew Griffin is in 12th. And last place, of course, having to pit with engine damage on his car. It is Campbell Knowles, who's miles off the back of P12 and miles away, even further from P1 in this race. David Mahindajit. Tyres are dead, but doesn't need them for very long because the next few corners lead into the Dockingham Straight. Mick Hill, same deal, a little bit low on fuel. And Nathan Wakefield will be absolutely stoked. He's gotten away with it. Very low on fuel, though. I'm a little bit worried about his fuel stat there, because he is very, very low on fuel. He's one of two drivers, including Mick Hill, who only refueled to about 80%. Maybe not quite enough fuel just to be safe, but either way, it's only a minute and 5 seconds. So 65 seconds until this race is over. Luke Stone with that damage. Oh, it's a bit scary there. Be careful on the outside line. The grass is lava. Matt Donetti probably not going to catch up, unfortunately. Absolutely. Word in chat saying hashtag not last. Absolutely, mate. At the end of the day, anyone who finishes a race like this deserves a pat on the back, including Drew Griffin, Campbell Knowles, and Lewis Atkinson, and Jeremy Crow, who've all had a bit of a shocker. Top 10 for Jeremy Crow, but he's holding damage on that Mercedes. Very uncomfortable place to be. And for the final time in Lobby A, our elite level driver leading the race, Gopi Mahindajit. He is coming down through the last part of Dockingham Straight into the final few corners. Tiergarten and the final last little bit. It is the last corner. It is all done. Diffusion Race Engineering and the number 2 car, Mercedes AMG. Gopi Mahindajit takes the fastest lap and the race victory here with an 8-minute 30 lap. Much, much slower than his fastest lap of the race. But that is a stellar drive by Gopi Mahindajit. And the winner of Pro Category today, it is Mick Hill and Hassel One Motorsport take home a huge haul of points for their championship efforts, both in the driver and the teams area. Behind them, Nathan Wakefield, P3 overall, second in elite category, and just enough fuel to get across the line. Luke Stone, despite that last little issue at the end, could have been 3rd place overall. Instead, it's 4th, second in the pro category, and an impressive drive, an impressive qualifying by this man right here. He has really, really strutted his stuff towards the end of the season. Take a bow, Luke Stone, absolutely stunning stuff. We'll go through the full results in a few moments' time. For now, enjoy the sights and sounds and the view that is Gopi Mahindra coming home with an amazing elite category win and an 8:05.875 fastest lap. Mick Hill taking home his category in Pro and a whole bunch of points for Hassel 1 Motorsport. And there it is. 49 points for Mick Hill, P1 and Pro category, 44 for Gopi Mahindra, leading the race all the way from the start to the finish in the elite category. Nathan Wakefield, Luke Stone, the second places. In fact, this is a very bizarre grid. We've got P1 in both the elite and the Pro category, lining up P1 and 2. Then in P3 and 4, it is the elite and the Pro category second places. Then in P5 and P6 overall, it is Matt Donetti and Glenn Mead, also elite and pro, and in that order. Wonder if it's going to be fourth and fourth, we'll see. But as you can see, all of the pro level drivers who got the equivalent place, so Mick Hill outscoring Gopi Mahindra, Luke Stone outscoring Nathan Wakefield, Glenn Mead outscoring Matt Donetti. That is how our point system works, so great points there from them. A great drive overall. Little spelling mistake there by Matt Donetti's name. CP Motorsport, turns out. Let us know your driver of the day as we head through the remainder of the results, please. Nick Pfaff is in, he actually is fourth. We've had 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4 in category, except with the elite and pro being switched up in that fourth position overall, but it is going to be P8 for Nick Pfaff, P9 for Dean van der Zandt, P10 for Jeremy Crow, then Lewis Atkinson, Drew Griffin, Campbell Knowles rounding out the point scoring positions. Daniel McDonald, Dan Wood, and Chris Duncan not able to make it today. Hopefully see them back in the next race for round 8. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me know please your driver of the day today, and we will go through our elite and pro standings. A couple of votes coming in already, but Mick Hill seems to have been voted driver of the day by 2 people so far. Very impressive work. In terms of my driver of the day today, it's a really, really tricky one. I probably would have given that to Luke Stone had he not had that one accident at the end there. Really impressive drive. Mick Hill, great strategy. But I've got to say, at the end of the day, Gopi Mahindra, a clinic unlike anything we've seen this season, and an 8-minute 05.875 fastest lap. He's my driver of the day. Gopi Mahindra, 100%. So let's take a look at the standings and where things are at. Elite standings look like this. Gopi Mahindra actually overtakes Lewis Atkinson at the top of the field by 1 point. Look how close it is in the elite category standings. Only 3 points separating the top 3. 220 points for Gopi Mahindra. Lewis Atkinson on 219, and Matt Donetti on 217 points. Don't count out Nathan Wakefield on 208, Nick Pfaff on 197, and then of course Campbell Knowles, Chris Duncan, and Dan Wood hovering relatively out of the points at the moment. But this battle for elite category and the overall champion of the drivers is down to the wire, 3 points in it. Absolutely fascinating. Mick Hill leads away with a 280 points to his name for Hassel 1 Motorsport. Glenn Mead only 18 points behind him for Gridline Racing. Jeremy Crow, equal points to Glenn Mead. The battle is truly on in pro category as well. Luke Stone, 30 points or so off the back of that top 3 battle. Matt McCullum in P5 on 190. Drew Griffin on 142 points. Consistently out there every race, putting in some effort and gaining points. That's massively helped out Astor Racing through this season. Dean van der Zandt, similar story there, 114 points for him. And then Daniel McDonald for Diffusion Race Engineering, who we have yet to really see at all this season. Well, that's your standings. Let me know if there's any more votes in chat for driver of the day. At the moment, it's going to Mick Hill. 2 votes for Mick Hill right now. And actually 3 votes, I should say, because Mark Hasseldine has tuned in and he has said Mick Hill, legendary drive. Mick Hill saying Gopi put on a clinic. So I'm going to say that's going to be 2 votes for Gopi Mahindra, and 3 votes from Mick Hill. Congratulations, both of you. Absolutely fantastic, unusurpable wins there by both. And I think the driver of the day, Mick Hill, will be going to you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have more racing coming up. It is going to be Group B coming up in a few moments' time. For now, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. You are watching the MotorMotion E-Series here. It is the Player 1 Sim Gear GT3 Championship. We will be back after a short advert and a break to cool my voice down, because solo in the commentary box with so much exciting racing is taking its toll. We'll be back in a few moments' time. Stay tuned. Grab a cold drink. We'll see you in a few moments' time. Hello and welcome back to MotorMotion E-Series, and the Player One Sim Gear GT3 Championship continues its coverage tonight of round 7 at the Nürburgring Nordschleife 24-hour layout. It is time to get into Group B. It is the Pro-Am and Am categories, and without Nick Pautasso and Andrew Scott here today, it is just myself in the commentary and broadcasting booth. George Cooke, a little bit lonely in here, but thank you to everyone in chat who's been keeping me company today. I really, really do appreciate it. Couple of corrections from the previous stint in the comments box. It is, in fact, 3 votes for Gopi Mahindajit, so Gopi Mahindajit does win Driver of the Day in Lobby A. And also, we don't have 2 rounds after this. We have 3, because I can't count. It is round 8 at the Red Bull Ring, round 9 at Barcelona, Catalunya, and then, of course, round 10 at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. So just bear that in mind. 3 votes for Gopi Mahindajit and 3 races remaining, the lucky number 3. Let's jump in to our qualifying results for Group B. Qualifying in pole position, Jackson Dean for Hassel 1 Motorsport in the Pro-Am category. A good run of form for him and ahead of his 2 championship rivals, Mark Pacheco and Rob Jacobs. Both of them, and all 3 of them, in fact, fighting it out in a close battle for that Pro-Am title. Jackson Dean needs a good win to his name. Mark Pacheco needs a good win to his name. Rob Jacobs needs a good win to his name to head into those last 3 rounds. So this is going to be key. So the number 3 recurring once again. It is just the way that these things go. Bob Massey leads the way in the Am class, showing more of the great form that we've seen him on in the last few races. This is a fantastic qualifying result for him, his best yet. Then it is Ricky Rick, Mad Rick, Rick Atwell for Gridline Racing, second in the Am class qualifying, P5 overall, followed by Riley Nicholson, a substitute there for CP Motorsport, bringing in yet another driver in their Am category class. P7 for Mark Hasseldine for Hassel 1 Motorsport, and looking fairly strong in that category. He's got 3 contenders to get past, though, to win the Am class champion category for today. Further down the grid, Troy Britnell, Lightning Motorsport, right behind Mark Hasseldine. Then it's Kevin Cooper for Hooncorp Esports in P9, also known as Renegade. Then it is David Brevington for CP Motorsports, another substitute for CP in Group B. He'll be driving the Pro-Am category today. Then it's Shane Attard with, unfortunately, what seems to be a rather disappointing qualifying for all of Asta Racing for the most part across both groups. This qualifying here for him puts him in 11th, followed by Jack Finch for Black Rose Racing, Richard Robertson in P13 for Pro-Am, the last of our Pro-Am drivers. And then, of course, Aiden Chase for Asta Racing will round things out for the grid today. Predictions for this one, I have no idea, because Pro-Am and Am are absolutely up in the air. It always is, but I do predict a ferocious battle in the top 3 in this race today. We're about ready to go down onto track, so let's head out there and get the get the race started. Let's get the race started for Group B. Jackson Dean leading us away for Hassel 1 Motorsport, Gridline Racing's Mark Pacheco right behind him. These 2 set for a mega battle. Rob Jacobs will want to get in that slipstream as quickly as possible, try and escape. Bob Massey just behind him, tyre warming early on for Jackson Dean. Knows he'll have a safe run down into turn 1. No issues there. Late braking, though, for Mark Pacheco does close the gap up. Bob Massey trying to make a move on Rob Jacobs just behind here, and he's gone very, very deep, has Bob Massey. He's actually spun the car. Bob Massey is around. Bob Massey has made a huge error early on in this race. They're 4 wide behind, and big issue there for Jack Finch as well. Aiden Chase has moved up a position. Bob Massey, real problem for him at the beginning of this race. Mark Pacheco not letting Jackson Dean get away with anything early on in the race, and Rob Jacobs will want to be part of this picture as soon as possible. Mark Hasseldine has found his way up into P4 in this race after Bob Massey spins it at the Mercedes Arena in the 2nd turn of the first lap of this 50-minute race, and Ricky Rick doesn't really gain or lose a position, is under a lot of pressure from CP Motorsports. I think that's Davidson, the Am class driver. I'll keep an eye on that. I'll double check the names, but nonetheless, that is Water Arrow, as we'll refer to him from now on. Water Arrow in P6 and chasing after Mad Rick. CP Motorsports will be looking for a good result, and that's their Am class driver as well, who's had a brilliant start to this race. Troy Britnell in behind them, followed by Renegade, followed by D. Brev This is a fantastic bit of racing. DeBrev, a well-known name. CP Motorsports wrangling drivers from other leagues that race with them on and off. Then it's Shane Attard in P11. Looks like Richard Robertson's just made a great overtake there on DeBrev. DeBrev not really got a chance on that one, just did not have the pace out on track. Medium tires all the way around the grid for this one, as we expect. Aiden Chase under pressure from Jack Finch. And that is another car. That is Bob Massey again. Bob Massey again, and he's gone into Shane Attard there. So Shane Attard and RPM. Bob Massey having an absolute shocker and now taking someone with him in this race. Back to the front of the grid. The three-way battle continues. The number 3 ever present in our minds. Jackson Dean still looking solid. Mark Pacheco navigating his BMW right behind him. Then Rob Jacobs in that Audi R8. And up the hill we go towards the Flugplatz. I'll say it once, I'll say it again, I'll say it 3 times maybe. What a great bit of track this is. Super high speed, round we go. Rob Jacobs running a bit wide. Supposed to hit both of those apexes, does manage to miss the second one. Not ideal for him, but he hasn't lost any speed as a result. Mark Hasseldean starting to move rapidly. I was about to say madly away from Mad Rick, but rapidly away from Mad Rick, who's sitting there in P5. Battle between Troy Britnell and Renegade continues for P6. Plenty of fuel on board, 100 litres of course for all of these drivers. Richard Robertson nearly runs it out a little bit wide. So we head to Arenberg and now down into the foxhole. Water Arrow had a problem there. I think he got caught up with Bob Massey. Must have, because he's down on P9. DeBrev P10. Chase, Aiden Chase, followed by his teammate Shane Attard. The 2 Astor racing cars under pressure from Bob Massey and Finch here with damage to the rear already in this race. It's not ideal at all. Some crucial decisions here from Jackson Dean in this race going to be required. He's got to make sure that the fuel will last out as it needs to. He's got to make sure these tires do what they need to. Or big inside curb there for Jackson Dean. Going to pick up a whole bunch of grass and dirt on those tires. Not going to make this section any easier. Mark Pacheco navigates successfully, as does Rob Jacobs. In towards Miss It Miss and towards the first carousel. Let's see, they missed the first one, they missed the second one, they missed the third one, so miss, miss, miss. 3 misses. The number 3, yet again, is becoming a rather unsettling situation here with the number 3 appearing absolutely everywhere on screen. Luckily, meters per second for the wind is not at 3, it's at 6.1. Jackson Dean's gone very deep. And that puts Mark Pacheco in the box seat for potential overtake as we head to yet another high-speed section. This is the area where Niki Lauda had his very famous accident in the wet at the Nordschleife for the German Grand Prix all those many years ago. Will Mark Pacheco think about an inside move? It's cut off by Jackson Dean very sensibly. A little bit shallow into that line, but this 3-way battle is absolutely mad right now. It's a 3-way battle of titans in the Pro-Am category. Jackson Dean still holding on, but Pacheco is right there. And Rob Jacobs wants a piece of the party as well. He wants to be in on this. It's the high-speed section. Slipstream is in effect. Back out there from Mark Pacheco. Nowhere for Rob Jacobs to go. So goes into the back of him, gives him a bit of a boost. Jackson Dean likely to lose the position here, but they're 2 by 2 as we head to the fastest corner on the track. It's that right-hander, left-hander, I should say, at nearly 200 kilometers per hour. Had to back out of that, usually a little bit faster through there. It all evens itself back out. Somehow, miraculously, Jackson Dean has retained the lead position in this race. Mark Pacheco obviously did not have the confidence or did not want to go side by side this early on in the race through that high-speed section. This battle is absolutely magnanimous. I love to see it, and brilliant stuff from all these drivers. Very slow run for Jackson Dean through the carousel. In fact, even Mark Pacheco had a pretty poor run. He gets launched out to the outside of the Caraquiol carousel. And I have to find a place, a time to gather some breath. Because boy, oh boy, what an exciting bit of battling we've had between these 3 drivers already. And that slipstream is the big, big item. The big elephant in the room, so to speak, in this battle. Jacobs not doing so well through this section of track. Coming up towards YouTube corner, misses a few apexes that he should probably be using to go a little bit faster. Pacheco has done that beautifully this lap. So the 773 really, really close to getting onto Jackson Dean. And Jackson Dean is holding damage. I've only just seen that. Where on earth is Jackson Dean holding damage from? I did not see that at all. Let me know in the chat if you're able to see it on the big screens replaying. Let me know where he's had that damage, because he's got front splitter and right-hand tire damage. No wonder he's so slow compared to these other two right now. Thought it was mostly the slipstream. Clearly not. It's the damage that's doing most of the work with regards to his pace. Through the jump section we go. Jackson Dean is holding on by the skin of his teeth right now, running through every apex he possibly can to try and gain just that little bit of momentum. In the meantime, we got Renegade. Kevin Cooper has made a move on Troy Britnell. Troy Britnell is having a bit of a problem because he's got Water Arrow all the way over the back of him. Jackson Dean ran wide into a corner, hit the wall. That's where the damage has come from. That's really unlucky for Jackson Dean, and it's going to unsettle him at the top spot. He's probably going to have to hold that all the way to the pit stop unless he decides to pit early, which may end his chances for a P1 in this race. So a critical moment for Jackson Dean. Troy Britnell desperately trying to hold he's trying to hold water at the moment, but the Water Arrow coming to slice a hole through the bucket that is his 6th place position right now. And Water Arrow doing a fantastic job for CP Motorsports. 2 stand-ins for CP Motorsports today in Pro-Am and Am category. Let's keep an eye on the slipstream up the top. 3-way battle continues. Rob Jacobs in the slipstream, Pacheco in the slipstream. It's going to be a close one. There's a flash of the light by Mark Pacheco indicating that he is going to go for an overtake. Let's see if he gets it done. He's on the outside line. He's done it. Jackson Dean loses the position at the end of the Dotting straight. And that means that Mark Pacheco is the new leader of this race. A critical moment for the Pro-Am category championship, because huge points for winning this race, of course. And it's a massive, massive deal given how close these three are in the standings right now. Still, I have to take my hats off to Jackson Dean for holding on so long. With that damage, it's very, very awkward. Mark Pacheco's decided the inside line is where he wants to be to defend this. Could be an opportunity for Jackson Dean for a bit of a switchback. We'll get a better run through turns 2 and 3, but no, unfortunately, he can't do it. And that puts Rob Jacobs now in the box seat to make the overtake and make his way past the Hassel 1 driver. Let's go through the grid. This battle continues to evolve, and Jackson Dean may only be a matter of time before he loses that 2nd place position to his other rival, Rob Jacobs. Mark Hasseldine in the doldrums, got no one around him at the moment. Water Arrow is making a move. Can he make it stick through turn 7 and 8? He can't. But he's got the outside line and down into turn 9. In fact, actually not a good run there for Renegade. Unable to get the power down as soon as he needed to. That's gifted the position to Water Arrow, who is on an absolute charge right now. Water Arrow moved up to 5th position. Troy Britnell under pressure from Bob Massey, who's also on a bit of a charge, so keep an eye on him and Water Arrow. Bob Massey, what could have been today, qualified in P4, fell down to the bottom of the grid and has made his way back up to P8 already. This is turning into a fantastic recovery drive for Bob Massey, showing us his expertise of the Nordschleife. Clearly got 2 hands on the wheel at this place. Or maybe 1, he's that good. D-Brev in P9's clearly had some sort of issues. Shane Adhard moving up in the field as well. Mad Rick has got front splitter damage on that BMW for Gridline Racing. That puts him in an awkward position in P11. Richard Robertson also got damage. 0.5 second penalty as well to his name. That's pretty difficult to find the penalties at the Nordschleife, but he has managed to do it. Finch, that car is broken. Front damage, rear damage, and 3 tires are damaged. 3. Count them, 3 tires are damaged. Then Aiden Chase, no damage for him. But unfortunately, his pace is just a little bit off, and after being involved in a few accidents in the first lap, has caused him to be in an awkward position. I think we've just... Something's happened. Something has happened because Pacheco has ended up in P4 and we've missed it. Jackson Dean back into the lead of this race, still holding the damage, but Rob Jacobs now in P2. Hasseldine's in P4, and there is Mark Pacheco. He's binned it in the first few corners of the Nordschleife section. Mark Pacheco is no longer in the lead of this race. He's in P4. and holding damage. This is a disaster for him because Water Arrow is coming up on his rear end really, really quickly. And this may be all over in terms of this one for Mark Pacheco, who's going to have essentially an equal time stop to Jackson Dean. This may have thrown the towel into the arena that Rob Jacobs is operating on and said, mate, this is all up to you. It's your one to lose right now. His main two rivals both have damage to the car. Rob Jacobs in that Audi R8, we know he's a fast chap. This is his opportunity to take a good race win and a lot of points away from Jackson Dean and Mark Pacheco. But I have to admit, that BMW, even with the damage at the hands of Jackson Dean, who is a bona fide master of this place as well, he is looking really, really strong in that BMW. There's not a lot that Rob Jacobs has been able to do. In fact, maybe pushing in that dirty areas, costing him a bit of tires, costing him a bit of time, costing him a few little mistakes that are sort of adding up across this 8-minute lap. So he's going to have to get that under control if he's going to make any progress on Jackson Dean. Bit of a better run there through the low-speed chicane. With the damage, that'll make all the difference. Of course, Jackson Dean holding that on an awkward side of the car. Mark Hasseldine going to be under pressure from Gridline Racing in a few moments' time, but right now it's a P1 and P3 overall for Hassel 1 Motorsport, and this is the lead of the AM class category as well for Mark Hasseldine. This couldn't be going better for Hassel 1 Motorsport right now. A little bit of a moment on the exit of that corner, nothing untoward. Let's have a little look on board with Water Arrow for CP Motorsports, on to potentially bring them one of their best results in this Group B this season. Water Arrow certainly looking like a really, really solid substitute for the CP Motorsports outfit. Right on the back of Mark Pacheco. Mark Pacheco has damage. Just keep that in mind. Back off of the throttle there from Water Arrow. Doesn't want to be this close at this section of track. Mark Pacheco trying to break that slipstream as much as possible. There's a side draft in effect, and Water Arrow in the Lamborghini not going to have the pace to do it this time. Has to back out again. Single file through the left-hander. Does so beautifully. Really nice driving here from the Lamborghini driver, Mark Pacheco. You've got a feel for him. He's got that damage. Oh, big moment. Oh dear, Water Arrow. That nearly cost him the 5th place position. Huge moment. Just got the entry all wrong. Was on the wrong side of the track. Braked. Well, had to brake through that corner to bring the car back on track. Really lucky to hold on to that, but well done. Behind them, of course, it is Kevin Cooper, still under pressure from Bob Massey, who's on a charge. Bob Massey has made his way past Madrick, past Troy Britnell, and now finds himself looking at the rear of Hooncorp Esports AM class driver Kevin Cooper. Bob Massey's in good form right now. Question is he in good enough form to get that overtake? We're not even at the second, not even finished the second lap of this race. Still 35 minutes to go. Did manage to see, I think it was 6 laps. Correct me if I'm wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I believe 6 laps is what we saw in the Group A category. Might have been 7. We shall see. Looking further down the grid, Shane Attard's still there. Richard Robinson, still with damage and a penalty. Served at the Dottinger Straight, of course. DeBrev in P12, Chase and Aiden Chase. P13, and then Jack Finch. Still holding up the rear with 3 tyres damaged. Back on board with this battle, and we're going to go on board for a little bit with Rob Jacobs. So I take a very, very short momentary break to clear my throat. I'll be back with you in a few moments' time, ladies and gentlemen, but watch this on board as the battle continues between P1 and P2. Now the critical moment for Rob Jacobs and Jackson Dean. Huge slipstream course through the Dottinger Hose. Only the second time we've been through here. Lurch to the outside line for Rob Jacobs. Easy as you like. Cherry on top for the Hooncorp Esports driver, and Rob Jacobs takes P1 in this race, away from Jackson Dean, who's holding that damage. Maybe thinking about an early pit stop. We shall see. Mark Hasseldine is behind them, but by a fair distance in a three-way battle between Hasseldine, Water Arrow, and Pacheco. Pacheco, look at the top speed differential. Kevin Cooper's come past him. Bob Massey's come past him. He's got no speed. He's only doing 250. Everyone else is doing 280. Kevin Cooper has a look on Water Arrow, but Water Arrow for CP Motorsports is up into P4 in this race and one spot behind Mark Hasseldine. And there's a car on the wall. Was that a car on the wall? Jackson Dean, a lunge down the outside of turn 1. He's going to try it. It's going to get Rob Jacobs thinking about where that BMW is going to be placed. Fantastic attempt, but unfortunately doesn't pay any dividends at this stage. Pacheco still suffering back there in P7 RPM. Bob Massey having the time of his life. Oh, nearly a tap on the rear there by Pacheco. Gets all out of shape, but Bob Massey will continue. Bob Massey's got a chance on Kevin Cooper's got the overspeed as well as we head towards turn 5 and 6. This is fantastic stuff from P4 downwards. Mark Hasseldine under a lot of pressure up there from Water Arrow. The competition for the AM class lead is wide open right now, and the number 6 car is absolutely on top of it and moving quickly. Kevin Cooper still defending the inside line through turn 7 and 8. Now towards the Schumacher S's. Won't be a chance through here, but there is a couple of braking zones coming up, and then of course Advan Bogan could present some overtaking opportunities for Bob Massey to take advantage of. Oh, Bob Massey's been really impressing me this race. Absolutely onto it, some really clean overtakes. That, however, is a commentator's curse. He runs wide and very, very deep just before Advan Bogan and the back straight of the GP course. Puts himself back in range of Mark Pacheco, out of range of Kevin Cooper. Water Arrow also still out of range of Mark Hasseldine. Now into the final chicane we go. The NGK chicane, sideways momentum is a problem for Water Arrow in that Lamborghini. The rear end steps out, doesn't want to have any part of it. It's going to cost him a little bit of tire life, but goes purple in Sector 3. Boy, oh boy, what a battle this is. Absolutely stunning stuff. We're checking in on our leaders. Rob Jacobs still not having any problems here, leading the race. No damage, decent tires. Bit of tire damage there, unfortunately, for Jackson Dean. It's going to cost him a fair bit in this race. And there's a... Oh, there's a moment. Rob Jacobs has gone around. He's binned it just before the straight up towards Flugplatz. And that is both front and rear damage. Rob Jacobs has had a nightmare. So all 3 of the top running Pro-Am drivers have had a crash. Pushing too hard, not able to catch it in time. And that, it's such a moment there. Again for Rob Jacobs, he's gone. Again, he's at a 360. The game ghosts him, thank goodness for that. Rob Jacobs falls down to P5. It'll be P6. Bob Massey is coming on through. Yes, he is. Pacheco is the next one to go, but he won't be able to get past these two who are battling for the top spot, have found themselves battling for P5. What a disaster for these two guys. And a disaster for Jackson Dean as well. He's holding that damage, but has managed to just reel in his driving and is not taking too many risks. And that so far has cost him any subsequent accidents. I can't believe what we've seen with Rob Jacobs there. Enters the Nordschleife. 6 corners later, he's in the wall. Another 2 corners later, he's in the wall doing a 360 again, being overtaken by 4 cars. Absolutely unbelievable. And what this does is elevate Water Arrow up into the P2 spot. He's managed to make the overtake on Mark Hasseldine. We did miss that on stream, my bad. But Water Arrow for the AM class is now in P2 overall and leading the AM class in his first race at MotorMotion E-Series. This will be quite the debut if he manages to get to the end of this race in that position. Mark Hasseldine, then Bob Massey. It's now a 3-way battle for the AM class lead. Rob Jacobs has had another problem. Yep, there's even more damage on that car. He is really struggling. Kevin Cooper, his teammate, comes on through, takes P6 away from him. Mark Pacheco up into P5. Now this battle starting to massively evolve out on track. RPM. That's Bob Massey following Mark Hasseldine, following Water Arrow in a 3-way battle for the top of the AM class. What a fantastic race we've had so far. A real thriller. Definitely going to be a few who are going to need a bit of a pat on the back by the end of it and a glass of wine, because boy oh boy, some of these guys have had not a fun time in this race so far, namely the top three, or the original top three. Oh, big send! What on earth is that? From Mark Hasseldine. There's no way that was going to work. He sends it down the inside. Luckily for Water Arrow, does see it coming. Bob Massey drives on through, and Mark Hasseldine not only sends it down the inside, massively outbrakes himself. Water Arrow sees it coming, hits the brakes, and continues on. So Mark Hasseldine, with a bit of a forlorn attempt to get that position, now finds himself in third in AM class, fourth overall with Mark Pacheco behind him. And yes, chat, reminding me yet again, Bob Massey, he started off this race in P4. Clearly got some pace at this track in that Diffusion Race Engineering Mercedes. But he had an issue. He had an accident in lap 1 before even the Nordschleife had we graced the Nordschleife's presence. But before the Nordschleife, he'd had a problem, fallen to last place on the grid, finds himself now in third. Mark Hasseldine, we've heard from the team. Turns out it was a braking marker that he missed there, unfortunately. Really tricky to spot it. Actually, I totally understand. I've actually been in that situation before, both in GT7 and also ACC, racing other players at this circuit. The braking marker is invisible when you're on the inside line. So we can pass that on to Mark Hasseldine. It looked like a send, it looked like an overtake attempt, but he just didn't see the braking marker, and I can understand exactly why, because that is the trickiest place to have an invisible braking marker. And we've had another comment in chat as well saying this track can strike at any time. Yep, it's like a very, very temperamental Cobra. That's what it is. In fact, it's a Cobra you didn't even know was there, and he's really angry. And you just happen to be walking in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's this track. So it's a bit of a potluck, really. And, you know, these cars, look at them. We're on the third lap of this race. The medium tires starting to really get into that struggle zone. At the end of this lap, we will see all the drivers come into the pits. So, on that note, let's take a little look around at tires and fuel. Low fuel here for Jackson Dean. Tires have been really good, though. He's looked after them beautifully. Then, of course, Water Arrow. Tires a little bit worse to wear, but he's got plenty of fuel on board at the moment. RPM, same amount of fuel for Bob Massey. Really closed in the gap to Water Arrow, who's going to be under real pressure in the dotting the hoe. That is actually, this is potential for the overtake. Bob Massey could be on to get past Water Arrow in the next straight. Hasseldine, decent tires, low fuel. Pacheco, damage, low tires, reasonable fuel. Kevin Cooper has been saving fuel like he's not got any left to put in the fuel tank when he gets to the pits. Troy Britnell, not much fuel, great tire management. Rob Jacobs, plenty of fuel on board. Both the Hooncorp Esports drivers in both Lobby A and Lobby B going for a fuel-saving strategy, saving time in the pit stop. I have to admit, it's a very, very smart thing to be doing. We move back to Bob Massey versus Water Arrow for CP Motorsports. We've been asked by Hooncorp to fast forward all the parts that see Rob Jacobs in the wall, and we will do our best to oblige. No chance here, though, for Bob Massey. The Lamborghini just too fast on the straight. Must have been a bad run for him onto the Dottinger straight. That Lamborghini looking very, very loose, though, so Bob Massey surely has a chance. Fuel difference between them. Bit more fuel for Water Arrow, so should spend less time in the pit. 13 litres versus 12. Mark Hasseldine will be the next in. Lots of damage to repair across the grid as well. So this is going to be interesting to see exactly how they all file out. Pacheco is in 2 on 9 litres of fuel. Renegade, the next one to come in. Will he come in? He's going to stay out. He's staying out. He's got damage. Medium tires are looking in great shape. He's got enough fuel for at least one more lap. So we shall see. Kevin Cooper, the first of the runners to stay out. Will Rob Jacobs stay out? That's the next question that we have to answer. Britnell is in on 8%. 23 litres and in. Rob Jacobs wants that damage to be repaired as soon as possible. Then it's Shane Attard, fairway back, followed by Madrick, Richard Robinson, Finch, DeBrev, who's had another issue, and Chase. Aiden Chase is having a shocker. He's around, he's in the wall. The Shadow Realms embrace. tight cold embrace, I should say, as he nearly loops it again, getting the car going. Kevin Cooper now actually leading this race. Jackson Dean comes out, fresh mediums, full tank of fuel, and he is set to go to the end of this race as we've now crossed the halfway mark, 26 minutes in, 24 minutes to go. Water Arrow behind him, also coming out on the racing mediums, full tank of fuel for him. Bob Massey, so same distance between all three of these drivers. Kevin Cooper temporarily leading the race for Huncorp Esports. Mark Hasseldine holds on to P4. P5, Mark Pacheco. He'll be quick now, though. Keep an eye. Troy Britnell. Then Rob Jacobs comes out. He's underfueled the car a little bit, but that's fair enough. You don't need full fuel to get to the end of this race. And I bet Rob Jacobs is thinking, oh, man, this is great to have a car that works underneath me again. Huncorp have done a good job to get the damaged car back out on track in an orderly fashion. Richard Robertson for Black Rose Racing gets his pit stop done, as does Mad Rick for Gridline Racing. Finch still making his way around. That pit stop is an urgent one because he needs that damage fixed as soon as possible. D. Brev is in the same position, as is Aiden Chase. All three will be in short order. Kevin Cooper, the only one who's decided, you know what, it's worth taking another lap. Maybe Huncorp can chime in on the broadcast and let us know what the decision-making was around that. But I think it was something to do with the fact that there's not too much damage to the front of the car, and the tires are in really good shape for this extra lap. Trying a bit of an overcut strategy, and he's got plenty of fuel on board, of course. Jackson Dean, he is in the position that he wants to be in. He's got a lead over Water Arrow and his two competitors, Mark Pacheco and Rob Jacobs. Just got to make it to the end. Just got to bring it home. Not really going to be under pressure from Water Arrow or Bob Massey unless he drives really, really slow. There is 3 laps remaining, this one included. So Jackson Dean just needs to bring this car home. Really impressive drive from Water Arrow today. He's been really, really good. A late substitute for CP Motorsports and actually making a little bit of progress on Jackson Dean. We head up and down the hill towards Vlogplatz. Bob Massey, another one who's been impressing us today with his driving at the Nordschleife. But really, this is exactly the kind of result CP Motorsports needs, just to reinvigorate the motivation, the morale in the team, which, while we don't think the morale has sunk too low, it's inevitable that there's a string of bad results. Unfortunately, the morale does take a little bit of a hit. And welcome to Chat Motion Media. Thank you so much for the kind comments. Really appreciate it. Such a difficult track for the drivers to get right today, and they've all been doing a brilliant job. It's been so much entertaining racing today. I absolutely love it. I love this track. I love these cars. I love this league. And to be honest, solo commentating isn't too bad. I'd love to have had both Nick Pautasso and Andrew Scott in the commentary booth with me, of course, because I do miss them quite a bit. And I have to go and find my own beers because Andrew Scott's not here. That's the thing that I'm really gutted about. Radio has told Jackson Dean to bring it home. Hassel One Motorsports want the victory. It'll help them to secure the team's title. And of course, for Jackson Dean, this means big, big points in that driver category of Pro-Am. So hopefully he's able to do so. A few screeches of the tires in the background. That's just the nature of the turn before we head towards the drop. Before we head to miss, and then down to the Caraquiole carousel, one of 2 carousels at this circuit, 25.3 kilometer circuit, I should say, because it is the full 24-hour layout. 600 meters above sea level, this track, with a 300 meter elevation change. Lowest point, I believe, is actually the Nürburgring GP course, and you go up and down the hills all the way through the Nordschleife. 154 corners on the Nordschleife alone. You add in the GP course, and that's 170 corners. It's a miracle I remember any of the corner names. But luckily, I've done enough broadcasting here that it's not too bad. Mark Hasseldine, P5, Pacheco. Pacheco has damage again. Oh my goodness. Somewhere in the last little while, Mark Pacheco, while I've been rambling on, Mark Pacheco has put it in the wall once again. Front flitter damage, left wheel damage. Looking eerily similar to what it was last time. Rob Jacobs going to try and catch up, but he's a fair way back at the moment after a couple of spins. Troy Britnell in P8, Shane Attard P9, Mad Rick P10, Richard Robinson in P11, the second CP Motorsports shoe-in, in fact, in the Pro-Am category, having a bad day out on debut, sitting there in P12. Still a 5-second point, it's another 0.5 second penalty for Finch, who just keeps finding the ire of the stewards, not the place that you want to be, that's for sure. And then Aiden Chase leading things out. Almost certainly a pit stop for Kevin Cooper, who stayed out 1 lap longer than everyone else on track. Medium tyres starting to look really, really awful to handle, and he's in one of the faster sections of the track, one of the tighter sections of the track, I should say, where the grip really does start to matter. Got plenty of fuel to get home to the pit lane, and that's a really nice line through there, beautifully run on the apex. So despite having tyres that are not in a good situation, he is actually doing really, really well, feeling the car up and down, I suppose. So hearing from Hooncorp Esports that Rob Jacobs was initially planning to be on the same strategy as his teammate and stay out for the extra lap. But of course, with the damage, there wasn't much point. And actually, I completely agree with them, because the longer you stay out with damage, the more time you bleed. And then you've got to drive even faster, which increases the risk, which increases the tire wear on the second stint. Better to get the damage done, get rid of it so your car feels nice and stable for the remainder of the stint. Speaking of stints, only 18 minutes left in this race. Jackson Dean is our provisional leader. Well, actually, our provisional leader is Kevin Cooper, but our actual leader of the race is Jackson Dean. Then it is Water Arrow in P2. Bob Massey's fallen off the back of him. The gap has elevated itself quite substantially between the two. Big lift to the front end of that Mercedes AMG as they head through the jump up to the fast section before we hit to Schwalben-Schwanz, I think it is. See, I know the corner names, I just don't know how to pronounce them. If there's any Germans in chat, or anyone who knows how to speak the German language, please help me pronounce these things correctly. Nonetheless, Bob Massey not on pace as he was before, and Water Arrow is able to get away from him and continue his charge towards possibly his maiden AM-class victory. And also, that'll be on debut, so it'll be a really impressive day for Water Arrow if he's able to do it. Not only that, he's actually caught up to the rear end of Jackson Dean massively, so the gap that was rather large between Jackson Dean and Water Arrow has more than halved in the last lap. This, of course, being their out lap, so fresh tyres for these three. But Water Arrow doing incredibly well through the last few sectors of the Nordschleife, brings himself right into contention. In fact, at this point, you're looking at that and you kind of go, is Water Arrow got the potential to win this race? And that question also opens up the possibility, can Bob Massey win this race? At the moment, being Pro-Am driver, leading the Pro-Am championship and in the lead at the moment, you'd think Jackson Dean would be the shoo-in for the victory, but it's not said and done. Kevin Cooper is in the pits. Fastest lap is being held right now by RPM. So Bob Massey with an 8:22.8. Just for comparison, in Lobby A, our fastest lap at the end of the race was an 8:05.875. So there is a 17-second difference in fastest lap as it stands right now between Group A and Group B. Kevin Cooper fueling up. Where is he going to end up? Someone has ended up in the barrier. That is Aiden Chase yet again. Aiden Chase is having a shocker. He's had so much form, showed us good form at Atlanta, showed us good form at Suzuka, and in the previous race as well at Willow Springs. Unfortunately, the Nordschleife does appear to be not gelling with him at all. The Porsche is not an easy one to drive at this circuit. The rear end is very, very unstable in that 911. If you combine that with maybe a lack of familiarity with this circuit, or lack of confidence at this circuit, oh boy, no wonder we've seen Aiden Chase having such a bad day out today. Coming up to 15 minutes remaining in this race, that means we do have this lap and one more to go before we crown a victor of Group B in both the Pro-Am and Am category. While we do that, we are going to go on board. We're going to find a close battle, hopefully somewhere. We're going to go on board so I can take a little bit of a break and just cool my voice down. My voice is operating at about the same temperature as the brakes on these cars. So that is a small problem. Finch going to serve his penalty. Small penalty there. Let's go on board with Water Arrow as he makes his way after Jackson Dean. Some very nice sector purples there from Water Arrow. We're remaining on board as we head up the hill into the left-hander. He's driving very calmly, TC0 for this man. I think he's aware of how easily the Lamborghini's rear end will step out on him if he steps on that throttle just a little bit too hard. Yep, so he has a moment there. Under TC0, so loses a little bit of momentum. But this is stunning work by Water Arrow. In P3, Bob Massey behind him. Mark Pacheco still in P4. A little bit of a battle starting to evolve between Hasseldine and Pacheco. There's a bit closing up down there between P4, 5, 6. Rob Jacobs obviously on that recovery drive. And a real shame. I mean, this is massive for Jackson Dean in this championship. Pacheco in P4, Rob Jacobs in P6. And that is going to be a happy Jackson out front seeing that happen, especially given the fact that he was the first one of the trio to get damage in this race. So it's making for quite the storyline evolving here and quite the story with 3 races remaining in this season after this one. We are at the point where it is critical to get these results. 3.3 seconds purple now for Water Arrow. He's on a real charge. Question is, will this be doing any good for his tires over the long run? Jackson Dean just doesn't appear to have a lot of pace on him at the moment. For whatever reason that is, probably quite content to say, you know what, I don't need to worry too much. I'll keep backing this guy, keep backing into this guy, and eventually it'll be okay. Doesn't want to give him a slipstream though. Lamborghini will be quick in that slipstream. BMW quick, got good top speed as well, bear in mind. Mark Hasseldine will be stoked to see his Pro-Am driver out there in the front, bringing home some more team points. Hasselone Motorsport as they barrel rapidly towards a team's championship victory. I think they're over 1,000 points if they finish as it is right now. Gridline Racing and Hooncorp battling it out for that P2 spot. Speaking of which, let's check in on the rest of the field and have a little look through the tires. Decent tires, half fuel for Bob Massey, who's in a decent situation right now. Still P2 in AM class, but he could be in a better situation in a few moments' time. Keeping a very close eye on these 3. We've seen small accidents occur, and we've tried to capture them as much as possible on the broadcast, but they do occur usually when we're about to start looping through the field. So keep a close eye. Mark Pacheco still holding that damage. Nearly has a moment as he enters the braking zone. Gets the car slowed down nicely, hits the apex. Late apex this one, back on the power. It's only in 3rd gear, so just low RPMs at the moment. Doesn't really need to be short shifting the car at the moment, I think, but he is doing so. Mark Hasseldine just behind them through the rumble and tumble of the carousel. Very tricky part of the racetrack to get right, especially on the exit. Just when you get the power down, easy to loop the car at that stage. Nicely executed acceleration there from Rob Jacobs. He's looking quick on this return drive. And he has to be because Mark Hasseldine is ahead of him and not by too much either. Kevin Cooper behind his teammate, P7. Troy Britnell, P8. Ricky Rick, fortunate start for him and now has damage. So Gridline Racing will not be happy that that car is holding the damage through these last couple of laps. Shane Attard also catching up to him, so that could be a P9 spot taken away from Mad Rick if he's not careful. Rear splitter damage for Robinson. That's really crucial damage for the Mercedes. Does not do well on turning when the rear diffuser was damaged, and as if to demonstrate that exactly, manages to go very, very wide. You can see no grip on that rear at all, because that diffuser plays such a huge part of lowering a car that has quite the natural aero rake from the design of the car. That rear wing not going to make up for the fact that the diffuser is not doing its job. Debrev, a lot of damage for him. Finch, still damage for him, and Chase has decided to put it in the pits for the moment, get that repaired. So lots of potential at the end of this race. We are on the penultimate lap. That means next lap is going to be the final lap of Group B's race. Critical moments here for everyone out on track. Right now, your leaders, Jackson Dean leading the race and Pro-Am category, and then Water Arrow leading AM class on debut for CP Motorsports. His first time here at MotorMotion E-Series in the Player One Sim Gear Championship, GT3 Championship, or any championships. And Water Arrow has really made his mark so far with this this position that he is in. Has been up and down the field too, so it's a tricky one. Nearly a second purple as we head through the last few corners. This could be him taking away the fastest lap from Bob Massey, who's still in range. So Bob Massey could still get himself back towards where the CP Motorsports Lamborghini is sitting. Let's see if it's the fastest lap. It is, but actually it's Jackson Dean. 21.4 from Water Arrow, a 20.5 from Jackson Dean, who's decided, you know what, it's the last lap. Time to make sure Water Arrow does not have a chance to get ahead of me. That's a 21.5, so equal pace between the two AM class drivers, Water Arrow and Bob Massey. Bob Massey, this has been a brilliant drive from him. This will be a career best in the GT3 Championship for him if he finishes in second. And third overall, so 2 firsts for Bob Massey. Great run of form he's been on for the last few races. Some comments from the drivers in chat as well saying the amount of sweat that came out of them during this race. Yeah, I can totally understand. An hour stint at the Nordschleife. It is hard work for anyone who thinks that motorsports and sim racing is some sort of relaxed thing. You sit down, you have a beer, you relax. It's not. It's stressful, it's sweaty. Our heart rate's going at 3 million miles an hour. It's a workout. That's what it is. Of course, got to remember, Jackson Dean is a VR driver. So, yeah, his team said in chat that his goggles might be fogging up just that little bit. Nick, welcome to the chat, mate. Sad we couldn't fly you over to Germany for this one in the commentary box, but we've made do in the way that it is. Just me solo in the box today. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Baltasso in chat. Thank you very much. Motion Media as well saying kudos to the guys at the back who are persevering and soldiering on. Couldn't agree more. I really do believe that if you finish a race at the Nordschleife, you're a winner. That's just simple as that. We'll give them a little bit of screen time as well in a few moments' time. Critical sections for all these chaps. Pacheco still holding damage in P4. Hasseldean not really anywhere close. Rob Jacobs catching up to the back of Mark Hasseldean. Then it's Kevin Cooper, Troy Britnell, Madrick, Shane Attard, who's catching right up to the back of Madrick. This is the battle we have to keep an eye on. P9, P10. Richard Robinson still holding that rear diffuser damage and just trundling his way to the end of this race. D-Brev gonna finish this race, but look at the damage on the car. No point pitting again. Finch has also got damage on the car, is just finding his way home, and I believe Aiden Chase and Astra Racing have retired the car, so unfortunately they're not able to finish. And the engineers and the pit crew here will get the word shortly that there is unfortunately going to be a DNS against their name, so a real shame there. Well, I've just seen a comment from the Hassel One Motorsports channel, and they've said something about their driving being bad. Well, I disagree entirely. I think Hassel One, both Jackson Dean and Mark Hasseldean, been driving fantastically well today in the BMW. Not an easy car to wrangle around this place, that's for sure. And thank you very much for the comment as well, saying well done for commentating 2 races. Thank you very much. That's absolutely a pleasure. Such awesome racing in both lobbies. Has been brilliant. I do miss my co-commentators, of course, but nonetheless, it is what it is. And don't worry, I've done worse. Try doing 7 hours of broadcasting and commentary solo in front of 900 concurrent viewers for low fuel motorsports in their 24 hours of Nordschleife, with drivers like Jardia, George Boothby, and a number of other pro esports teams. Then having to do interviews with all the winners in all the categories, 4 categories of drivers. It was a 7-hour stint, that one, so I'm used to it, all solo. Bob Massey up to P2. Water Arrow has had a problem, and I'm sorry, I've been babbling on, talking about myself, reading chat. Unbelievable. And incredibly unprofessional as well. Water Arrow has, unfortunately, fallen back into P3 in this race overall, P2 in AM class, and Bob Massey finds himself in the box seat for an AM class win. Bob Massey, he's going to make some records here today for Diffusion Race Engineering in the AM category, and for himself. This is absolutely fantastic. Riley Nicholson commenting, your Lambo said you're not getting away with it this time. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. The Lamborghini does like to bite just as much as the Nordschleife, and what a shame for Water Arrow, because this has been a brilliant debut drive for him with CP Motorsports, a late sub into the team and in AM class. Absolutely amazing pace that he's been on all race long, so consistent, and bear in mind that this has been a recovery drive for Water Arrow as well. All the way through this race, had a bit of a miserable lap 1, some contact here and there, got caught up in an incident, found himself well down the field, and I believe P10 at worst in this race, fought all the way back up to P2, and it's such a shame the rear tires of the Lamborghini just completely burnt out, really. There's no grip left on them. This is going to be fascinating, because RPM is not only in a fantastic spot, he's also catching up Jackson Dean, who's not going to be led away with this whatsoever. So Jackson Dean has got a lot of work, actually not a lot of time to go to the end of the lap. But boy, oh boy, he's got a lot of work to do, because if Bob Massey finds himself in the slipstream, I can tell you that Mercedes is going to fly past the BMW. This is boding to be a fantastic end to what has been a brilliant race in Group B. Both Pro-Am and AM have put on quite the show for us today. Bob Massey is looking super quick. On the last lap of this race, we've got 60 seconds before we get to the checkered flag, and a few more corners before we head to the Doddinger Straight, and this is close as it's been for Bob Massey. What is going on here? Just Jackson Dean has just lost confidence or something, and he's just not able to put the pace in that BMW. Every single corner, tenths being taken out of Jackson Dean by our AM class leader, and we could, for the first time in Group B, potentially see an AM class driver on the top step at the end of a race. This is going to be absolutely fascinating. Stay tuned, because this race is not over yet. Bob Massey looking strong. Down the bump we go. Jumps down into 4th gear, back on the power early. Gets more ground that he gains on Jackson Dean. This is incredible stuff by the Diffusion Race Engineering driver, and this could be 2 victories in 2 groups. Overall victories as well for Diffusion Race Engineering, and what a weekend this has had. They will have had, if this is the case. This is going to be close enough for a big slipstream effect for Bob Massey. Does go a little bit deep into the final corner before the Klein carousel. In we go. Looks pretty stable by both, but it's slow for Jackson Dean and wide for Bob Massey. Oh, here we go. This is it. Doddinger Straight coming up in a few moments' time. Slipstream is going to be absolutely massive. Bob Massey is on for a win of the overall race. It's the final lap. Ticked over at 50 minutes, all done. Jackson Dean is trying desperately to find a way to not let there be a slipstream. Is he going to move across to the right? He's trying to fake one. Does fake a little bit. Will he move? Will there be a sudden move? There's not much he can do. If he ends up with Bob Massey on his outside line, it's going to happen. Side draft, overspeed, it's all go. It's all go, and Bob Massey takes the lead of this race, but only just. Jackson Dean has to concede. He goes back into 2nd place, and Bob Massey is leading the race. There's an attempt by Jackson Dean right at the end of this race. He wants the position back. He can't get it. 2 corners to go. Bob Massey leads the race. An M-Class driver takes the Nordschleife. That's it. It's all said and done. Checkered flag for the Fusion Race Engineering. And Bob Massey, what a win. What a drive from the M-Class driver. And he finishes in pole position at the end of round 7. What an unbelievable race. Jackson Dean will have to commiserate himself and have to take P2 right on the chin. Water Arrow on debut, P3 for him, Pacheco in P4. I am absolutely speechless, ladies and gentlemen. Bob Massey, take a bow, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I am surprised that I am saying this right now, but my goodness, M-Class, let's go. Bob Massey takes that victory. That was absolutely brilliant. Last lap, gets the slipstream of the Dottinger straight, has the pace. Jackson Dean can't do anything about it. 50 points for Bob Massey. First time we've seen an M-Class driver finish not only first in their category, but first in the overall race. 50 points, I believe, is the highest point score, individual total for any driver on the grid in the entire season so far. Bob Massey, you have set about 5 different records for season 2 in one fell swoop. Congratulations, that is absolutely stunning work. Jackson Dean will have to live for the fact that that slipstream, it was all about it. Nothing he could do to break it. And once Bob Massey was side by side, Jackson Dean, nothing more that he could do. But a valiant drive from Jackson Dean in P2 overall, does win the Pro-Am category. 44 points he takes home. And after getting damaged early, Jackson Dean, have to admit, he handled the damage better than anyone else on track today. Really, really did, because he kept that BMW going. No secondary incidents for Jackson Dean. Executed his strategy well, came home in P1 and Pro-Am. Riley Nicholson, Water Arrow. What a debut for this man right here. AM-Class comes in second in AM-Class, 3rd place overall, 41 points in CP Motorsports. That is their best result this season by Riley Nicholson. Congratulations, man. You have done incredibly well this race. Then it is Mark Pacheco in P4 overall, P2, of course, and I've just noticed a trend here. What is going on? Okay, hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with me for a moment here, because my tinfoil hat is going on. Bob Massey AM, Jackson Dean Pro-Am 1-1, P1, P2 overall. Riley Nicholson AM, Pacheco Pro-Am 2-2. Mark Hasseldine, Rob Jacobs AM Pro-Am P3, P3. I need to check the other side. Is this going to be 4-4? It's not. Okay, so we broke the trend here. For the record, in Group A, we had the exact same thing with the Elite and Pro drivers all the way through the grid. Anyway, time to take my foil hat off and talk more about the results. Pacheco comes in P4, 2nd overall. Mark Hasseldine takes home 3rd place in AM-Class and 5th overall in the race. Great points for him. Rob Jacobs in P3, and a real shame for MotorMotion Esports there. I think Rob Jacobs was actually on for the win if he hadn't made that mistake, because boy oh boy, Jackson Dean was struggling with pace towards the end of this race, and I think Rob Jacobs would have potentially had it, as do I think Mark Pacheco would have had it too, had he not made a big mistake. Then Kevin Cooper for MotorMotion Esports rounds out our top 8. It's then Troy Britnell in P9 for Lightning Motorsports, P10 Shane Attard, Astor Racing, Richard Robertson, and then David Brevington, D-Brev, as he's well known, CP Motorsports driver on debut as well. Does come home in 2nd to last, but still was a good race overall. 3rd to last, I should say. Then Jack Finch, and then Aiden Chase with a DNF. Unfortunately for Mad Rick, we didn't see him at the end of the race. Real shame about that. He was in a great position. But nonetheless, Aiden Simpson and Robert Rice, both DNSs in this race. And that, as you can see, is who CP Motorsports were replacing today in this race. Hope to see Robert Rice back on the grid at some point soon, because he's been a pleasure to watch and to see racing. That said, CP Motorsports have had a good result with Nicholson, so he may be one that they want to keep on board going forward. Let's take a little look now at the Pro-Am standings. Jackson Dean continues his run of good form, 295 points, and he's a couple of races or race wins away from making it mathematically impossible for Rob Jacobs to get back onto his rear wing. Rob Jacobs in P2, 258 points and 252 for Mark Pacheco. It's still very, very close between these guys. 3 races still to go in this season, and we know how close it's been between these 3 drivers, so expect this battle to continue to spice up as we head towards the final round. Shane Attard in P4 for Pro-Am, Mitchell Collin in P5, Richard Robinson in P6, Aiden Sampson in P8, and Robert Rice in P8 with 70 points. AM class standings, Mark Hasseldine still leading, and mathematically, I don't think it's possible for anyone to catch him at this point. Oh, do let me know your driver of the day, by the way. Let me know your driver of the day. You have done already. Okay, we'll get to driver of the day in a few moments' time. Sorry, I'm still processing the race that we have just witnessed. Troy Britnell on 236 points in P2 for AM standings. P3, Kevin Cooper on 195. Aiden Chase, very close to him in 4th place on 178 points. Then it's Bob Massey with a good run of points there, 50 points to his name today. Puts himself up to 174 points and in with a shot to get into the top 3 of AM class standings. Then it's Rick Atwell for Gridline Racing, 119 points. Graham Splint for CP Motorsports on 89, and Jack Finch, Black Rose Racing. Of course, we didn't see Graham Splint today. That's Blue Dog, replaced by our amazing super sub for CP Motorsports, Riley Nicholson. Congratulations to him. What a substitute that was. Okay, let's talk driver of the day before I carry on. We've got team standings to go through as well. Driver of the day votes. Let's see. Bob Massey. Bob Massey. Bob Massey. Bob Massey, driver of the day, Super Bob. Okay, I didn't think we needed to talk about this. We don't need to talk about it. Bob Massey, you are the driver of the day. And in fact, even one of our commenters has said, drive of the series so far. And in fact, that is Jackson Dean saying that. So that is big congrats from the Pro-Am Championship leader. Congratulations, Bob. Enough said, mate. What an absolutely epic drive. Had issues in lap 1, went from 4th to last, came back, and has won the race. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable job there by Bob Massey. Let's talk team standings, then we can talk more about how awesome Bob Massey is. Here's the team standings as it is right now. Hassel 1 Motorsport, 1,137 points. They are 1 race away with this kind of result of making it mathematically impossible for anyone else to catch them. So we are nearly about to crown a team's championship to Hassel 1 Motorsport. Should they continue this good run of form, that team has been performing day in, week out to bring the results home, and they have done incredibly successfully. Hooncorp Esports on 824, but followed closely by Gridline Racing and P3. Watch this space. It's going to get very close between those 2 teams, still battling it out for P2. Black Rose Racing in P4 after a good bit of results and 3 points clear now of Astor Racing. We've had a little bit of a fall from grace this time round. Last time, of course, at Willow Springs, they were in a better position. Then it's Lightning Motorsport in P6 on 675 points. 624 points for CP Motorsports, who do have a shot of getting up to P4 potentially in this team standings. Need a few more results like they've had today. Diffusion Race Engineering round out our team standings on 578 points. Wow, wow, wow. Well, Bob Massey, congratulations. Gopi Mahindajit, congratulations. 2 Diffusion Race Engineering cars win both Group A and Group B. What a weekend for Diffusion Race Engineering, ladies and gentlemen. What a weekend for Gopi Mahindajit. What a weekend for Bob Massey, also known now as Super Bob. Super Bob, you've done incredibly well. What a drive, mate. What a drive to all the drivers. This is an incredibly challenging circuit. It's the hardest one on the calendar. It's the longest one. 170 corners, 25.3 kilometers of track distance with 300 meters of elevation change. It is a monster. It is no wonder we all call it the Green Hell. And thank you all for tuning in today on the YouTube channel on MotorMotion E-Series. At MotorMotion E-Series, I should say. Please give us a like and subscribe, support the channel, give us a follow, tune in because we've got 3 more races coming up in the calendar as we head towards the final part of the European leg. Ahead of us, round 8 at the Red Bull Ring, round 9, Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya Grand Prix, and then, of course, the final round at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. And that is going to be a fantastic 3 races to finish things out. Fast and furious at the Red Bull Ring, tricky and hot at Barcelona, and then, of course, the nightmarish monster, the beautiful beast that is Spa to finish things off. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. That is going to conclude our broadcast tonight. And so on behalf of myself, George Cooke here, going solo in the commentary and broadcasting booth, I hope you've all had a fantastic time watching the coverage tonight. Absolute pleasure to be here as always. Big thanks to MotorMotion E-Series and Player One Sim Gear for their continued sponsorship. And we will see you next time for Red Bull Ring. It's going to be a wild one. Get your horns out, get ready to go, because it's going to be awesome. Good luck to all the competitors in the upcoming races, and we'll leave it there. Thank you all, and have a fantastic rest of your week. Bye-bye. And away we go here at cloudy Nürburgring GP. Everyone being cautious, they know it's a long race. Still 21 laps to go. So we just started the race and we're already seeing so much action on track.